Hello everyone, and welcome to the fourth video of Module 3. And in this video, we're going to talk about dreams. Okay, so we talked about how the gods can talk to us, how we can talk to the gods through prayer and offerings. And we've talked about how they can talk back to us through divination, but they can also talk back to us through dreams. So let's talk about dreams. Okay, so as I said, dreams were used by ancient heathens to receive messages from the gods. Okay, now whether we remember dreams or not, we all do actually dream. Okay, you may think you don't, but you do. You just won't remember them, maybe. But we can train ourselves to remember those dreams. Okay, now many dreams are just our brains processing things. Okay, but dreams are also a primary way in which spirits communicated with people in heathen times. So it's more than just our brain processing things. It is a method of spirit communication. And in particular, we should pay special attention if we're getting recurring dreams, okay? Because that's probably a message, whether that's from our subconscious or whether that's from the gods and spirits, okay? So be skeptical about dreams. Not all dreams are messages, okay? But don't be dismissive, because some dreams may be. Another thing to think about is lucid dreaming. So lucid dreaming is where essentially you become aware when you're within the dream that you are dreaming, okay? And then it makes it easy for you, or easier for you to control the dream, for you to decide who you're going to talk to, and to even remember the messages that they give you. So lucid dreaming is a really good skill to try and cultivate and build up. And you really want to work on improving your dream recall and on your ability to lucid dream, okay? So why are dreams important? Okay, as we've said, they're a way for the spirits, the gods, the ancestors to communicate with us, okay, to send us messages. If we're doing lucid dreamings, we can actually control the dreams and control who we speak to and get those messages from. But the text also that we've got, the lore, it gives us some examples of really important reasons why we can dream, okay, or why we want to pay attention to our dreams. So in Land Namabok, there's a guy called Bjorn, and he's visited in a dream by a dweller of the mountains who offers to partner with him, and he accepts the offer. A goat then comes and joins his herds and livestock, and so they multiply, and he becomes very rich. So this is a spirit, basically, of the mountain who brings him lots of prosperity because he has this dream and accepts a partnership with him. Then in Kristni Saga, we have a local land spirit that's living in a rock, and a man worships him. Okay, and the man who worships him calls him Sparman and Harvestman. So he calls this land spirit Sparman and Harvestman. Now, Spar means sort of divination and prophecy, okay, and then harvest obviously is about harvest and fertility. And it says, the man says that he tells me about many events that haven't happened yet. He protects my livestock and reminds me of what I must accomplish or beware of. And he does this through dreams, okay? So there's a local land spirit that this guy has a relationship with, who's worshipping with him. And in return, through his dreams, he gets messages about different events that are going to happen. There's protection of his livestock. And he gets reminders of what to do and what to beware of, okay? Now, a priest pours holy water on the stone in the story. And so the spirit also, in this dream, complains to the man about this holy water that's affecting his rock. Unfortunately, the man then becomes a Christian, and the spirit has to move out and things. But for the period, it gives us an example, basically, of what can happen. So a local land spirit can communicate with us, okay? In Viga Glum Saga, Viga has a dream of this female guardian spirit, this Disir. Okay, and we're going to talk about the Disir in the next module. And they come to him, or she comes to him, and he invites her, to stay with him. So he's evidently in some way controlling the dream at this point, and he's able to ask this Disir to come and stay with him, and she becomes like his guardian spirit. In Floamana Saga, we have a god appearing now. So we have Thor appearing to Thorgils in a dream, and he's angry, actually, because he's been abandoned for Christianity. So Thorgils has become a Christian and abandoned him, basically. The dead often can appear in our dreams. So there's this shepherd that is sleeping out, and he wants to learn poetry. So he sleeps on a hill doing utiseta, and he gets a visitor basically who helps him from the dead, who helps him to compose poetry, and then he becomes this famous poet. You've got the dead complaining of being disturbed in graves, for instance, in Laxdela saga, and in Atlamal, they also come and warn of impending death. So the dead can appear too. Okay, so you've got land spirits appearing, you've got gods appearing, you've got the dead appearing, doing all sorts of things, from teaching to giving messages to complaining and being angry to giving powers to all sorts. Okay, being prophecy and all that sort of stuff. So death and disaster are often forewarned first in a dream. Okay. Now, the dream could be a symbolic dream, so you see particular symbols and things, or it could be an actual visitation by a spirit, where the spirit appears in the dream and says something. Okay, there were even experts who were consulted to interpret dreams in the past. So if we pray for guidance from ancestors, gods, and spirits, very likely the answer will come in a dream. And if you look through maybe a lot of magical texts, not just in heathenry, but in other cultures as well, you've got, whether it's like the Egyptian PGM or the cunning folk of England in the early modern period, there's lots of examples where you do some sort of spell and the ancestor or the god or the spirit then comes to you in a dream and gives the answer. So this is something that's continued, well, from way in the past to right up till modern times. Okay, guidance that's coming from the ancestors, the gods or the spirits, will often come in a dream. Gods themselves take the dream seriously. So Odin's son Balder, he has dreams about the fact that he's going to die. And so they take this very seriously, and Frigg has to go out and ask all the beings in the world to promise not to kill him, which she manages to get all of them to do apart from mistletoe. And then Loki obviously uses mistletoe to kill Balder. But they obviously take these dreams very seriously as messages, okay? And death and sleep are often seen as similar. So when you sleep, you come into this state like death, which then makes it easier for the spirits to contact you. That's sort of the theoretical idea about why it allows this sort of communication. Basically, you're meeting them halfway. You're not completely dead and in their world, and they're not having to come completely into your world, into our world. It's a state in between, a hypnagogic state, where you're meeting halfway. And then a key example of how this works is utiseta, so outsitting. This is the idea basically where you go out and you sleep on a grave mound overnight in order to get some sort of gift or inspiration from ancestors in a dream. So we talked about the shepherd there who got the gift of poetry when he slept on the grave. You've got a lot of examples of kings who go out onto their ancestral kings' graves and mounds and sleep on them. And it's almost a way of showing their authority, that they're getting a continuation of their ancestors' reign. But they often get inspiration and gifts from that. So it's a really good way of communicating with your ancestors. Okay, so that's why dreams are important. That's what the lore says about dreams. Let's have a look at some practicalities of remembering your dreams, okay? So first step in all this dream work basically is our ability to remember our dreams. We need to make sure that improves, okay? So there's different things you can do here. So firstly, I would suggest buy a dream journal and put it next to your bed, okay? Don't put it anywhere else. It needs to be next to your bed with a pen, so you can get up immediately when you wake up and write down exactly what happened. A couple of minutes after you get up and it would have gone, okay? So make sure you write it as soon as you get up. Before you go to sleep, say to yourself, I will remember my dreams. I will remember my dreams. I will remember my dreams. Repeating it as you go to sleep, okay? Particularly if you're wanting a particular dream about something. Okay, so that then sends a message to your subconscious to make you remember your dreams, and it's been found that will help you to remember your dreams better. Have some nightly rituals that make you sleep well or help you to sleep well, okay? And go to sleep at the same time every night. So have yourself a bedtime, have a bedtime routine where you wind down, you get yourself into a calm and sleepful state, okay? You might want to have your room dark and slightly cool. That helps people to sleep. Turn off screens like half an hour to an hour beforehand. Wear maybe blue light glasses, or in the evening if you are watching a screen, those sorts of things, okay? Also avoid alcohol, because alcohol will give you a restless night. Even if you think you slept well, actually, it was quite restless when they've done experiments to see what happens to people. So you basically want to get a really good night's sleep, okay? So because you go through cycles, okay, of like 1.5 hours, and you need to get into several cycles before you get into the deep dreaming sleep state. Okay, so you need to have a good night's sleep. Next, when you come to waking up, you want to be waking up slowly and motionless with your eyes closed, okay? And you're spending a few minutes just recalling your dreams, okay, thinking about them, thinking about what happened in the dreams. And then as soon as you then quickly write down in your journal. And you may not want to write everything happened, maybe keywords and things to jog your memory, because things will quickly disappear. So keywords, bullet points, things like that. Everything you can remember about the dreams. Don't worry about making it look nice or fancy or whatever. You just want to get as much as you can down on the paper to start with. Okay, and then once you've done that, you can then sort of rejig it and put it into a more coherent form. Okay, so, and you also want to make sure you write the date. Maybe you want to title your dreams. Then you can have a look and see if there's repeated themes or patterns later. Okay, and note down if you're lucid, if you were lucid in that dream. Now, that's your ways of remembering your dreams. If you want to get yourself more vivid dreams, you can consider trying to take mugwort tea before you go to sleep. This is supposed to give you more vivid and deep dreams. So if you want that, that's something to try, but be careful. Do not take it if you've got allergies to mugwort or if you're pregnant, because if you're pregnant, it's an abortifacide. So it would cause you to have an abortion. So you don't want to do that. But if you also should test for allergies. So maybe take a little bit and rub it on your skin first, or just drink a tiny amount, just to make sure you're not allergic to it first, okay? So that is about you remembering your dreams. And now we're going to just talk about your homework, okay? So this homework has got quite a lot of stuff to do. You don't have to do it all at once, but please do try to do it all over time. So firstly, we talked about prayers and we talked about poetry. So try and write a prayer to a god, a spirit, or an ancestor, and try and use some poetry and alliteration in there. Maybe use that meter that we talked about. You need to start giving regular offerings, okay, in your offering bowl. So we talked about the altar last time. You probably should have an altar set up by now. In our the second module, we talked about it. So get yourself your offering bowl and make sure you're pouring weekly, ideally on Thursday, but maybe even daily, some sort of offering in. It could be alcohol, it could be water, it could be, you could do food, it could be anything, okay, as an offering. Also, try and do that. It's the same thing on new moons and full moons and any festivals you celebrate, okay? So you're giving an offering to all the gods and spirits and ancestors and things together weekly on a Thursday, and also on new and full moons and festivals. Buy a dream journal, okay, and put it beside your bed. And as soon as you wake up, start to record any dreams you can remember, okay? If that's difficult to spend time doing that, set your alarm for a few minutes earlier and then record those dreams immediately, even if it's just a few keywords, okay? If you don't already have some, buy or make a set of runes, okay? And then use your rune poems, your own interpretations, and the suggestions of authors, if you have books about it, to create a chart of runes, okay, and their meanings. So you can easily refer to them. When you pick out a rune, you can look at the chart and go, that's what it means, okay? And then start using runes or another method for divination. So start by pulling a rune each day at random, and record it in your journal, as I said, along with the rune poem verse and its meaning. Okay. And just keep doing that again and again and again, every single day. And you'll soon learn all the meanings of the runes and how to interpret them. Okay. After you do these offerings or any other type of ritual, do a divination. So on a Thursday, for instance, when you give your offering, pull a rune as well and see if the offerings were accepted. If not, give something a bit more. Okay, give a little bit more into there. And finally, there's a document I want you to read called Familial Religion in Pre-Christian Scandinavia, Ancestor Worship, Mother Priestesses, and Offerings for the Elves, which will start to get you into the understanding of how the ancient heathens worshipped the gods and ancestors, how their home cult basically worked. And next time we're going to sort of explore that deeply. We're going to talk about the ancestors and the house spirits in the next module. So that's your homework for this module, for this month. So please try and do as much of that as you can and really starting to build a practice out. You should have your altar ready by now. We talked about in the last module what the things will go on your altar. So now you're looking at your offerings, your prayers, your dreams, your divination stuff. You want to make sure you've got that set up and ready and start practicing. Okay, so thank you very much, and we shall see you in the next module soon.